Hi everyone, I'm Ashwin, founder of MBB Prep, that helps ambitious young professionals get into top tier consulting firms. I'm a former Bain manager, Deloitte director, and also a former strategy lead with Goldman Sachs. I've helped hundreds of candidates get into top tier consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. And through these videos, I share some common tips and suggestions and strategies to succeed in consulting interviews as well as succeed in the consulting role. Right. Now, in this particular video, I'll be discussing two key aspects, right? Um, and those two aspects are from the perspective of what you should clarify in a case interview before structuring the case, right? In my coaching sessions where I help candidates crack consulting interviews, I emphasize that before structuring the problem, identify and ask pertinent clarifying questions that help you understand the case, right? So note I said understand the case, right? I don't mean ask questions to start solving the case, right? Um, and the two key things you should focus on understanding are the client objective and the business model in terms of how the client caters for this objective. And this is absolutely fundamental in terms of how MBBs approach strategic problems, right? So first, always try to get a clear understanding of the core question and the client objective, right? Essentially, what we're trying to understand is what does success look like for the client, right? Um, and when we are talking about success, we're talking about how does it look in terms of the focus metric or the operational metric. What is the definition of this operational metric? What is the target value and what is the timeline of achievement, right? For example, if the objective that the interviewer tells me is to improve um, return, right? I would ask him, what is the operational metric do you use to measure return, right? And let's say he tells me it's ROI, right? I would then align with him. What does ROI specifically mean for the client? Is it profit related to investment cost, or do they have some other definition, right? Then I would ask him, what is the target ROI level that the client expects, right? And is there any timeline that he has in mind, right? Um, Now, this concept, right, to get a clear clarity on the objective as well as the core question is so important, right, in a case interview that I want to illustrate it with an example, right? So let me take an example and illustrate to you its importance. So let's assume you're Jamie, right? Jamie is an analyst at Coffee Beans, a popular coffee chain. Now it's Friday afternoon, and your boss, Patrick, pops in. Right? Patrick says, "Hey, Jamie, before you go, I need a report on the coffee market by Monday morning, right? And make it about 5 pages." And he walks out, right? So what does Jamie do? Right? Jamie spends the whole weekend working on a general report about the coffee market, right? And he might be covering sections like history of coffee. He has coffee varieties in it. Then he looks at the demand forecast. Let's say, right, he includes a page on demand forecast for coffee. Then he compiles some key customer trends, and also he compiles some key coffee brewing technology, upcoming coffee brewing technology that a lot of new age coffee companies are using, right? Now, if you look at this report, right, it's very generic, right? It's not answering any specific question here, right? But let's imagine an alternative scenario, right? Um, Before Patrick walks out, right, let's say Jimmy stops him and asks him, Patrick, what is the objective of the report, right? And is there anything specific you want me to cover in this particular, right? And Patrick replies, well, we're thinking about expanding and I want to know what kind of coffee drinks are popular with the office crowd, right? And if there is a gap in the market that we could fill in terms of uh, um, catering to this particular segment of coffee drinkers, right? Now, with this info, right, Jamie spends the weekend again. creating a report in this alternate universe or alternate scenario, right? And let's look at the sections that you would cover in this instance when he has a clear objective or a clear core question, right? The sections would be quite different from the first scenario, right? He would focus on coffee drinks among office workers. He would look at what is the product offering we should have in order to target this particular segment effectively. What is the price positioning we should aim for to target this particular office worker segment? What is the competition in this particular segment? Can we explore potential B2B partnerships, right? To gain more adoption, right? So let's look at both scenarios, right? Both scenarios, Jamie produced a 5-page report, right? But which report do you think is more useful, right? Which report do you think gets praise and appreciation from Patrick, right? It's a second report, isn't it? In the first scenario, Jamie has no idea what his boss is asking, right? So he comes up with a generic report that does not answer any question, right? Second report, however, focuses on the specific question that the boss or Patrick wants answered, right? Therefore, it's more purposeful, it's more useful for the organization and for the management, right? Now, every consulting case in the world, right, whether McKinsey helping a Fortune 500 consumer goods company, or helping them outperform their competitors, or BCG helping let's say, the Indian government digitize its operations, the conversation, right, always begins, no matter the project, no matter it's a government client or it's large company. The conversation begins with the senior most client stakeholder telling the senior most consulting partner that this is the core question that I want you to answer, right? So unless you identify that core question, unless you identify what is the objective of the client, you cannot solve a case, right? So this initial exchange where you align with the interviewer, right, in terms of what is the objective? Is there an operational metric that I can use to measure this objective? Is there a specific target level that the client is aiming for? Is there a specific timeline of achievement, right? Without clear alignment on these aspects, even the most brilliant analysis will miss the mark, right? Now, in a particular case interview, right, always you need to be asking what is the conceptual objective and what is the operational metric, right? At times, the interviewer may not have that information, right? In those cases, I would align with the interviewer what is the objective or what is the operational metric that we should aim for as I navigate through the case, right? Because it doesn't make sense for me to go ahead and um, put in place a structure if I don't know what is the objective, right? In terms of target level and in terms of timeline, we can work without them, right? We can, for example, the client might have target that make as much profits as you can for me, right? That's perfectly fine, right? There is no upper limit in terms of profit maximization, but we need to get a clear alignment on what is the objective of the client and what is the operational metric that is used to measure this objective, right? So that's the key thought here, right? Always align on the objective and the core question, right? Now let's focus on understanding the second key aspect, right? Which is the business model, right? Or how does the client cater for this particular objective, right? Now, in case interviews, right? Typically 80% of the time, I would say this is about understanding the key revenue sources or the key profit streams, right? Essentially, how does the client make money, right? Because most cases that you will get in a case interview are focused on um, um, a company, right, which is commercially oriented. In the case of non-profit cases, right, it may not be about how does the client make money. It would be about how does the client create impact, right? How do they utilize the funds um, to create certain impact in certain societal areas, right? So let's look at three examples, right, to understand this concept better, right? To understand the concept of business model and specifically within the case context, right? As I said, it's Yeah, it's primarily about how does the client make money for commercially oriented companies, right? So let's look at the first example, Gucci, right? Now, Gucci is a luxury fashion brand, right? Now, their value proposition is high-end luxury products for affluent customers, right? So they make money through sales of luxury apparels, accessories to affluent customers, right? And they do this by leveraging strategic celebrity and brand collaborations, right? In order to create the required buzz and exclusivity required, right? So if you look at their brand ambassadors, you would find them that often in public appearances, they would be wearing the Gucci apparel or Gucci accessories to promote those Gucci products, right? Um, a second example is Peloton, right? So if you look at Peloton, now Peloton is a premium at-home fitness experience, right? Which is catering primarily to busy professionals, right? And the way they make money is from the sale of the hardware. Here, it's primarily the treadmill or other devices that they sell, as well as subscription to their on-demand fitness content, right? And their value proposition, if you think about it closely, right, or critically, it's primarily they are addressing a market gap between conventional gyms and home equipment, right? And their stock price soared a lot, right? They saw a significant appreciation during the COVID time, right? Because during the COVID time, nobody was going to gym, right? And Peloton filled the need for providing a premium at-home fitness experience, right? But post-COVID, their stock price has seen a dramatic decline, right? Um, Now let's look at the third example, World Wildlife Fund, right? It's a not-for-profit entity, right? So therefore, here we will be looking at primarily the funding model of this non-profit entity and how do they utilize funds, right? WWF relies primarily on donations and grants from governments, private donors, and foundations, right? And how do they utilize these funds? They utilize these funds to implement conservation projects and to promote sustainability, right? So this is what you need to understand, right? Before you start formulating a structure, right? Because if I do not, if a case is about, a luxury fashion brand such as Gucci, right? And if they want to improve profits, till I do not understand how do they, cater to this particular objective, which is profits, right? I will not be able to draft an appropriate approach, right? If I do not know what are their product lines, is it luxury apparel or is it something else, right? If I do not know how do they sell these, luxury goods, is it through company-owned outlets or third-party outlets or D2C or a combination of all, right? If I do not know how do they differentiate themselves from other luxury companies? Is it to strategic celebrity and brand collaborations, or do they have any other point of differentiation? Right. So all these inputs, right, help me when I'm drafting a structure to maximize their profits. Right. Great. So hope you find this video useful. Please give it a thumbs up. It really supports the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for more inside tips and tricks that you'll be getting, right, through these videos, primarily to get into consulting, as well as if you're a consultant, how do you improve the on-job performance in terms of problem solving, in terms of slide design, right? Also, if you need more personalized help navigate consulting interviews, reach out to me by booking time through my Calendly link. And link is in the description below. Also, my details about my website and other details in terms of social media is also provided in the description. Thanks a lot. Have a lovely day.